boys and girls, Kevin Smith used to be the icon of like the nerd community, right? Like he used to be kind of like the face of the geeks and the nerds, the people who like D&D, people who like comics, the people who like, just any kind of nerdy, kind of geeky stuff, the kind of things that used to get a lot of us picked on in school for enjoying and having a good time with. Well, boys and girls, a lot of things have changed with Kevin Smith over the last few years. We saw the absolute abysmal failure that was the first season of his Masters of the Universe series over there on Netflix. Now, obviously out there, a lot of fans were very upset and they made their voices heard by it. And well, it turns out season 2 didn't turn out to actually be all that bad. I've heard some pretty good things from a lot of the fans of the series out there. And other than that, it definitely was at least a market improvement over the very first season where they completely and totally did horrible things to our favorite characters from Masters of the Universe. And well, no one really forgave Kevin Smith for after that, especially a guy that comes out here and says he's one of us, he's a nerd, he's a geek, and all this other kind of stuff. But one of the issues we've seen to happen is a lot of people say they miss fat Kevin Smith. And I don't blame them for that because the guy was funny. He seemed to be very anti-establishment. And then a while back, he had some health scares and he had some health issues. And it seems like ever since then, he has turned in just to an absolute shell of himself. And he's got some answers. He's got some reasons as to why a new clip of him has come out. And he's got some of his reasons, some of his answers why he's not the critical kind of person that he was, the kind of person that made him kind of the anti-establishment of Hollywood that so many of us loved and knew for so long. And I think it's very interesting to kind of hear that kind of comparison. But if anybody thinks that what his views and his standards are should be the standard for the rest of us, well, boys and girls, I think you've absolutely lost your mind, because we have a prime example as to why the way Kevin Smith wants to view the world, of course, is fine for him. But for the rest of us, we will continue to be critical. We will continue to go over things, and we will continue to roast things out here, ladies and gentlemen, including our dear sweet Kevin Smith. So we have this lovely little post over here from, I don't know who this guy is. I mean, it's apparently I know some of the stuff he's involved in. He's got a whole hell of a lot more followers on Twitter than I do. He says, writer, director, The Exorcism of Emily Rose, Sinister, Doctor Strange, The Black Phone, Next Up, The George, and The Black Phone too. Now, obviously, Exorcism of Emily Rose was really good. I really enjoyed Doctor Strange. Haven't seen The Black Phone or Sinister, but I hear good things about those ones. I've never heard of the other one. So obviously, this guy's got some pretty good accomplishments. But here he says some wisdom from that Kevin Smith. So now, boys and girls, we're going to watch this video, and I want you to let me know if you think this is a wise decision, if you think his words are wisdom that we should all take to heart, or do you think he's simply an old fool out there who has lost his mind completely and totally on a lot of things. So we're going to check out this clip. We're going to get into all the juicy details and see exactly what he has to say. But before we do, if you do enjoy our content, make sure you smash that like button, share it with all your friends, subscribe and or follow if you have not already, because we are inching our way closer and closer to 800, and I could not do that without every single one of you. So please go ahead and hit that little subscribe button down below. And if you can financially support this channel, we are a fully funded show. And if you can, please check out the links in the description down below as well. So let's get into what our dear sweet Kevin Smith has said. Let's give him his piece and let's see if his opinion is something maybe we should all take to heart. Maybe there are really words of wisdom, or if, like what Cosmic Book News says, this guy's just completely lost his mind.
Back then, I would have told you all the movies that I hate, and here are the reasons why they suck and whatnot.
So he would have been like a traditional movie critic, right? Because that's what movie critics do. That's what critics in general do, whether it's a critic of a video game, whether it's a critic of politics, whether it's a critic of movies, whatever it is, critical of comic books, whatever it is. That's what critics do. They tell you the things that they don't like about stuff. Now, he's saying hate here, and that's fine if that's the word he wants to use. And maybe that's how he really felt about those kind of things. But at the end of the day, it's being critical of things, because generally the idea behind a critic is for things to improve, for things to get better. That's why we criticize you. Now, obviously, there's people out here that are just jerks, and they criticize just for the sake of criticizing and just to tear down and destroy, much like what we've seen a lot in the modern era with the destruction of some of our most beloved characters out there. It's one of those kind of things. Some people are out there just to destroy and tear down, and just makes them feel better to try to be angry about a lot of things. Around here, you guys, if you've been watching this channel for a length of time, you know that yes, we do tear down a lot of things. We do get angry. We're very critical of things, but we also try to promote a lot of good things around here. We try to promote alternatives to the mainstream. We try to promote things that we're good about. Now, those things generally don't do as well in the algorithm, but hey, that's just how the program ends up working. But at the end of the day, that's fine. If he wants to be like this, at the end of the day, critics have their purposes. He would have formerly been a critic. He is now admitting the fact that he is no longer a critic of movies, television shows, and movies, because he's not going to tell you the things that he doesn't like about them.
And you would never hear that from me today. You'll never hear me say, what's the point, man? Life is too short. I almost died of a heart attack 6 years ago. And then last year I lost my fucking mind. So broke my heart, broke my fucking brain. Any minute now.
Well, and I don't think there's any doubt from anybody out there that would deny the fact that Kevin Smith's brain has absolutely broken. I mean, this is a guy that literally, for internet clout, will put videos of himself crying at movies or at television series or events and stuff like this. And it's not just like, people are like, well, Fury cried when Luke came back. It's like one time, right? Like this is a repetitive thing with Kevin Smith. It's like every other Instagram video he puts out there is him crying at something. And it's like, you're supposed to be a man, right? Last I checked, I mean, you got the facial hair, the substrate drive, and check what's below your pants, but I'm just going to assume a few things, okay? And, you know, you want to say that it's okay for men to cry. Yeah, that's fine. That's fine. Whatever you want to say, that's fine. You know, we've all teared up at Old Yeller a couple of times. But this is not something you put on public display for clout, which is the problem. Because at the end of the day, that's what Kevin Smith has always been. He's always been a clout chaser. This was the guy that was into a couple of nerdy things in school, got picked on by a few things, but always dreamed of sitting at the big kids table, right? He always wanted to be with the popular kids. You know what I mean? That's all he ever was. Well, now that he's got that, now that he's sucked up enough in Hollywood and probably sucked enough off in Hollywood, that he now gets to sit at the cool kids table. I mean, he's still ostracized and looked down by the rest of them because he's the nerdy kid. He's the geeky kid. But at the end of the day, that's all he ever wanted to be. And I'm not saying he wasn't a nerd. I'm not saying he wasn't a geek, but he certainly claimed to be a fan of things he was not and knows nothing about, i.e. Masters of the Universe. But at the end of the day, he's admitting he's no longer a critic. He wants to be nice. He wants to be, I could be gone at any minute. Any of us could be gone at any minute, Kevin Smith. Any of us could be. The Lord could call any one of us home at any moment. The real question is, what do you leave behind, my friend? What do you leave behind? Do you leave behind a better world because you were critical of things and helped them improve? Or do you just want to be known as the nice guy who had just got along with everybody and never said a disparaging word about anything? I'm sorry. I would rather, especially in a modern era now where we're getting such absolute hot garbage, I would much rather leave a better world for my children behind. And if I got to get angry, if I got to yell into a microphone, if I got to turn on a camera, if I got to grind my butt every day to grind out every subscriber I can because the algorithm is the way it is on YouTube, I'll do that. Because it's not about me, Kevin Smith. It's about what I leave behind for my posterity. It's what kind of legacy I leave behind. How did I impact the world? Did I make it a better place? Are things improved now that I am gone? Did I improve it in any way whatsoever? You can't improve things if you're not critical of their flaws. Maybe you don't want to concentrate on your energy that anymore. Maybe you're scared you're going to be gone tomorrow and you'd rather just be happy-go-lucky for the rest of your time on earth. Personally, I don't think that's probably why you're here. Maybe I'm wrong. I don't know the mind of God. Not even close. But we've all got a purpose here. If we're still breathing, you've got a purpose. You've got a reason you're still here. You've got something else left to do. Right? And you may never know what that is. Kevin Smith may never know what that is. But at the end of the day, you don't give up being a human being and being who you are just because you faced death in the face. The Lord does not give us any challenges that we cannot overcome. He never gives us more burdens than we can handle. He just wants you to prove how strong he knows you are. And me personally, just this humble common nerd's opinion, I think he's proven God how much of a weak man he is. But let's let him continue. Maybe his explanation will further flesh this out.
Now I can leave this place. I don't want to spend any fucking seconds going, you know what sucks? Instead, I will spend hours telling you about what I love. That's a better use of my time, your time.
That's healthy.
If you're looking for negativity, you don't need me. You can find it back then.
And I think that line right there is probably the most poignant. You don't need me. And I like Michael Rosenbaum. This is a great podcast. And the guy interviews a lot of great people. We get a lot of great stuff out of there. He's great as Lex Luthor. And of course, we loved him as his voices in a lot of the animated stuff. And I can understand why he's being a good host and all that kind of stuff. I'm not going to be critical of him because Kevin Smith's what we're here to talk about. But Kevin Smith's right. Kevin Smith's right about one thing overall. And maybe you agree with him. You know, I think it's a healthy dose, right? You have to have both, right? Just like a balanced diet. You can't eat too many sugars. You can't eat too many sweets. You can't eat too many carbs. You'll get fat. You'll die of diabetes, right? Like all of these horrible things that can happen to you, right? But a healthy balance is good. But if you're just going to be happy all the time and you're never critical of anything, well, you might as well just be drugged up your entire life. I'm happy. Everything's wonderful. Everything's fuzzy. It sounds more like he just wants to live in a delusional world where everything's hunky-dory. Maybe he doesn't want to concentrate his time on all that kind of stuff. But for one thing is for sure about that, whether you agree with Kevin Smith or disagree, one thing is absolute sure based on his most recent work and based on a lot of the dumb thing he says and based on all of the many crying Instagram videos he has put out there. He is certainly accurate about one thing. We don't need you anymore, Kevin Smith. You're not a critic anymore. And there's a million better people out there to replace you now anyway. Far better people than I to fill your shoes, because you're not. You never wanted to be one of us. You were never proud of being a nerd. It was just you're in Hollywood. But before you were anti-establishment, well, I don't know what happened. I don't know what they sweetened your deal with. I don't know how they buttered your biscuit, Kevin Smith. But they sure as hell did something to you. Something changed. A lot of people say, we miss fat Kevin Smith. I'm kind of with you on that one. But he's right. We don't need him anymore. So Cosmic Book News here says, disagree. If you don't point out what sucks, what's ever going to stop them from putting out garbage? Case in point, that Kevin Smith's He-Man season 1 sucked. But people complained. He fixed it. And season 2 was good. And that's how it works. You know, most people who are critical of things, whether it be Star Wars, whether it be Marvel, whether it be DC, whether it be movies, comic books, television shows, whatever it is. Are there certain characters out there that it's just their malice and they just want to be mean and cruel? Yes. But you generally figure out those kind of people pretty quickly. And that's why they don't last very long, right? But the average critic, the average moviegoer, the person who talks about this kind of stuff online, talks about it from a place of wanting to get better. Are we angry? Do we scream and yell? Absolutely, because we're passionate. We're passionate about this kind of stuff. We're nerds. We're geeks. You ever met one? Ask him about his favorite hobby. He'll spend the next 45 minutes talking to you about nothing, about things you don't even know what the hell they are. And he'll be excited about it the entire time. You know, and that's what it is. So we're passionate about these things. We love this stuff. We want it to be good. I don't scream and get mad about Star Wars because I just want to tear it down. I grew up loving Star Wars. I want it to be good again. I want Doctor Who to be good again. I want DC to be good again. I want all of those things. But I also know that if we don't holler about them, if we don't make our voices heard, things won't change. And Kevin Smith's right. We don't need him anymore for that. We're doing it ourselves. We are winning on top of that. When you make your voices heard, you get what you want. The squeaky wheel gets the grease. God answers the prayers you ask of him. If you don't ask, you're not going to get it. It goes the same for God, and it goes the same with these corporations. We've made wins. Look at Stellar Blade. Look at Helldivers. Is it everything we wanted? No, but it's something. And it's more than we've ever gotten in the past decade. We are winning. And it's because we are making our voices heard. It's because we are complaining about things. And we will continue to do that. And that's why we will continue to win. So once again, Kevin Smith's right. We don't need him anymore.